The flag bearer Raila Odinga's residence. She's going to be joining us in a few moments to talk to us about really what his expectations are. Let me come back to my guest here in studio, and I want us to just talk about the 5.2 million voters who are going to be voting for the first time this time round. On my Twitter handle, I'm asking people to share their experiences, and quite a number of young people are really just saying how excited they are to be part of the process this time round. Dismas, what is that thing that you think is the reason why you're having quite a number of people coming out very excitedly to go out and vote, and also just seeing the kind of numbers you've seen since morning of Kenyans wanting to do this decisively?
Well, the two things, you know, in the past elections in Kenya were poorly organized. It was when you go to vote, it's as if you're going for a market, you don't know where to get the tomatoes, you don't know where to get the onions. But this time around, they've arranged it. It's only no more than 700 people in a line.
Yes.
And if you're able even to send a message to, I think, 70,000, you would even get, you can get to know your street before you get to the polling station. Like for me, after this show, I know exactly where I'm supposed to go.
You better go.
And, yeah, of course, I have to go and cast. Yeah. And you know, it's unfortunate that the majority of Kenyans who actually complain about poor leaders.
Yes.
Right now, they're having a cup of tea, they're watching TV instead of they must go and cast their ballots. If you do not wake up in the morning to go and vote, then for the next 5 years, hold your peace. Do not complain about anything. But now, Kenyans have begun to realize that if you've got horrible leaders, then your economy goes down the drain. If you've got good leaders, then there's a chance that you're able to maximize on your selfish interest. And you know, that's what we've been talking about every day. That this election is not about Raila Odinga or Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. It's about your interest. Countries that have done very well, like say Singapore or South Korea, is because they've taken the time to vote in good leaders. Leaders who identify with the aspirations of the nation. Unfortunately, in Africa, most of the people who go to leadership is not because they want to take Kenya to or rather their countries to the next level. It's because they use power as a factor of production. Somebody wants to be a billionaire. Instead of going to the private sector to harness the factors of production, you go to government and you go take care of the procurement budget. And those are some of the tragedies we've had in Kenya before. That everything we are told in Kenya is procurement-led. When there's a project coming up, they do not look at the needs of Wanjiko. They're just looking at the procurement needs. They want to make some money. But now for the people who are voting for the very first time, majority of them are unemployed. And Raila Odinga has been telling them, if you give me the opportunity to serve you, I'm going to take your socioeconomic life to the next level. And President Kenyatta has been telling them, I'm already doing it. So now they've identified, they're saying, between these two people, who actually represents my selfish interest. That's why they're coming out. And of course, you know, we have social media. So the average Kenyan voter is very sharp. He's got access to news and he can actually take a decision. But now one hopes that they're taking this decision based on their rational thinking, not on their tribal connection. That I'm a Kikuyu man, I must vote for President Kenyatta. I'm a Luo man, I must vote for Raila Odinga.
For the 5.2 million new voters?
Especially the 5.2 million voters. Yeah, because if you go to social media and you go through the contents. I mean, like for instance, when President Kenyatta does a posting from his official Twitter account, the kind of responses which come up are amazing. And you know, people for some reason they call a spade a spade. They don't want to tiptoe around issues. Like for instance, when he says the economy is growing, some of them are probably graduates of economics at even a master's level who don't have jobs, and they're having a conversation with him. And the same thing happens with Raila Odinga. So they're able to see that there's a direct connection between the quality of leadership and your bank balance. There's a direct connection between the leadership and where you stay. And what you eat. And more important, what you eat. And because you see, of the Unga revolution. Because people are saying, President Kenyatta has been in office for this long and we're having food insecurity. How can we trust what he's telling us? And also Raila Odinga is saying that if you give me the opportunity to lead, I'm going to address this issue of Unga. So there is a...
What proof? What proof? That's the question that many people have in their minds. Maurice, coming back to you, and let's just go back to the nominations and something that Dismas has just mentioned. The issue to do with the narrative of Kenyan politics has basically been tribal over the last couple of years. Actually, not couple of years, but, you know, since time immemorial. Are we likely to see what happened during the nomination? And by that I mean very big names falling down. Are we likely to see that in this election, something different? Like, you know, Kenyans will go out and do something and veer off what is really known as normal?
Yeah, I think that's possible. If you look at the history of elections in this country, in most cases, up to 60%, you know, of incumbents are changed, particularly members of parliament. But just to go to what Mukwa, you know, mentioned earlier about the ability of Kenyans to see the correlation between the ugali on their table and the quality of leadership. I really wish that that were true, that is how people will see, these elections and to be able to establish that and then determine what the leaders are offering against their own selfish needs. Because that will make a big difference for this country. Unfortunately, I don't think so. I think we are still, really pulled towards our strong identity, which is the ethnic identity, when we are making a determination of who we want to lead, who we want to lead us. But going back to the nominations, at the, a lot of these, nomination exercises were taking place at the county and sub-county levels, and the politics there, are almost a replica of what is happening at the national level. If at the national level it's based on ethnic, familiarity and strength, at the local level it's either clan or something of the sort. Interest groups are important for elections. However, the kind of interests that we put forward for us as Kenyans are not the best. I've seen what some trade unions have done, recently, where they came together and they say that, our position and our interest could be catered for by this particular candidate. I think that is the way we should be going, so that we look at our individual interests, our professional interests as Kenyans, and we are organized around different groups, whether it is circles, whether it is trade unions, whether it is sports, and we say that that is the agenda that we want to push forward and identify with a candidate that can be able to actually realize those. Because in ethnic groups, you get nothing. You cannot bargain based on your ethnic background or whatever. All you get if your candidate wins are, bragging rights.
Just bragging rights, yes. All right, so we'll continue the conversation, but of course what you've been seeing on your screens is Deputy President